Okay, I am Hlonipha Mokoena. I am an associate professor at the Wits Institute for Social and Economic Research, and I am here to talk to you about African history. And as a quick reminder of the lesson so far, in lesson 1, we talked about the importance of African history. Why does Africa matter as a site for historical writing, but also as a continent that has a history? In lesson 2, I introduced you to a character called Prester John, and how for several eons, Prester John defined Europe's understanding of Africa as the source of gold. And in this lesson, I am going to talk about the darker history of the search for gold. I am going to suggest to you that one of the reasons why slavery happened in Africa, or the enslavement of African people happened, wasn't just because African people were docile. This is one of the myths that I think has been created by the history of slavery, that Africans were powerless to defend themselves against their enslavers. What I will suggest to you instead is that the history of Prester John had created such a thirst for wealth in Europe that Europeans essentially came to Africa looking for gold. And almost out of sheer spite and disappointment, they thought, well, since we did not find Prester John, then we're gonna take the humans and capture them and turn them into captives and turn them into money. Which is why the term black gold was often used to describe enslaved Africans. So there is a dark history to this very glittering and bright yellow element of gold. So in some ways, the history of the exploitation of the human capital in Africa has everything to do with the history of gold. And obviously, if you know the history of South Africa, you will also know that in the case of South Africa, gold mining could not have happened without the labor of Africans. And exactly the kind of country that we live in, the city that we live in, is based on a substrata of gold and of the history of gold mining. So gold then is not just this beautiful, glittering, shiny, expensive, luxurious substance. It is also the source of the enslavement of African people